What is up, freak bitches, wherever you may be, however you may be watching? Thank you for giving us just a couple of minutes of your time. I'm so very sorry for getting started a few minutes late. I completely lost track of time. You'd think I would know better than that. But here we are, and we are absolutely done with the sitcom little themes are going on. We are full blown into the actual MCU Marvel excitement that so many people wanted from this initially, but they were not getting. Some people were kind of pissed off, but they were getting this little theme thing. But you know what? Screw you guys. We've gotten a killer show, and now we're done with the sitcom themes and throwbacks. We are full on into all the answers that we've all been wanting for the last probably 6-7 episodes at least. And here to talk with me about those things are my good friend, the Dowager Countess, Lady Cora. How are you tonight, ma'am?
I'm great. Thank you very much. I got puppy stuff in the mail from Amazon today, but not the webcam to use. So Amazon's, having fun fucking with my head, giving me stuff I don't need right away, but keeping the stuff I want right away on hold.
You gotta love Amazon.
Yep.
But somebody who's got all the stuff that he needs for his dog, because he actually has his dog right now, is my hetero life mate, Mr. Jeremy Wolmer. What's going on with you, my man?
That's true. And instead of puppy stuff, I have puppy chow. See, I was like, see, that still works. Thank you for that setup, because apparently Cora is psychic and knows that I have Chex Mix at any given time.
It's only because I bought Chex cereal today.
Look, I almost looked out my fucking window like, hello?
We've been doing this together long enough that we are in mind meld now. We are all in mind meld.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm not mad about that at all, because it's only going to make our show better as we move forward.
Yep.
But the one show that we're all so concerned with right now, and the one we're here to talk about, is WandaVision. Look, this show is just getting nuts. Look, as if the last episode wasn't big enough. Look, I mean, this episode was going to be a couple of flashbacks. I have to fix a couple of these pictures before I move them over. This episode was going to be a couple of flashbacks. That makes perfect sense. But the flashbacks that we got were just damn brilliant. Now, the first thing we got some of these I've got all wrong. I've got the wrong pictures up here altogether. That's probably why they weren't working. Let me get the right pictures up here, and you guys be able to see everything that I want you to see. I'll move these around for just a bit while we start talking. But we start out this episode. We get a visual of what we kind of already know about Agnes, but this flashback was pretty telling. It starts out in Salem in 1693, and Agatha is getting ready to be executed by her own coven for practicing dark magic. Now, there's a bunch of other witches in this coven, for those of you who know how witchcraft works. I'm not overly educated on this, but, I mean, I've seen, the Coven TV series that American Horror Story put out, so that's about all the education I have on witchcraft.
I have some thoughts about this, but I'll wait till your intro's done.
Oh no, go ahead. I mean, basically
Okay.
she's been using or practicing or learning dark magic, and her coven is pissed off at her about it for obvious reasons, and that's why they want to execute her.
She purposely got caught by the coven to take their power from them, like with the comment, "I can be good," and she wasn't genuine? Or was this the moment she turned heel and became bad because she thought no one believed she could be good? So why not be bad? I was left wondering, what did she do that was so bad with dark magic? I really want to know the backstory.
Well, no, I
Like, did she kill somebody? Did she take a child? Did she turn it into a pig? I don't know. What did she do?
it's hard.
She can hold her breath underwater. She's a witch.
Because clearly she can control. She can turn her purple on when she wants. So why would she really truly be under control by their blue fake handcuffs? I mean, it seems like a setup.
Well,
but it could have been genuine. I don't know.
Well, maybe she figured out something that maybe not that they didn't, but they feared. Like, yeah, maybe she ended up getting into some bad shit, and then they found out about it, and they're like, look, we can't be having you do this. This kind of goes against our rules and our, I don't want to say beliefs. It's a coven of witches, whatever. I've never been in one myself, so I don't know what their rules are. So
do you think she genuinely was trying to trick them, or do you think she was wanting to be good but realized no one believed her, so she turned heel?
Well, because I think it may have been like this may have been like maybe an execution of some sorts, and maybe she knew like either they were going to try to get this out of her, or kind of take her out of this coven. But then she kind of realized, yeah, that's not going to work. Or maybe she is special in some way, because she kind of just absorbed their powers and ended up like basically sucking the life out of all these witches.
Yeah, that's why it seems like a setup. But then she left the mother alone. I was like, well, teach me. Almost like she wanted to...
Maybe she still wanted help. I don't know.
So confusing a little bit. That could have been a whole episode in itself.
I'm not entirely...
And that reminds me...
I would have totally watched that.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure of Agatha's entire backstory. I haven't read the comics in a long, long time. I know vaguely what her role was in the comics itself. But it's her characters, after this episode anyway, was a little more intriguing. But it's obvious as we're sitting here staring at the scene that she is not really apologetic for anything she may have done to piss off the rest of her coven. She says I can be good, and then I don't know if it's her mother or the mother of the coven. I think in covens the main witch is called the mother. I don't really know off the top of my head. But when she says, "Mother, I can be good," she says, "No, you can't." It seems like the look on Agatha's face instantly turns to, "Well, you caught me, so screw you guys. Do whatever you think you can do to me." Kind of like there was.
But do you think they even knew her before this?
Well,
because they said, "Are you a witch?" I don't think they knew who she was, and they caught her doing dark magic. So technically, it's not her coven. But I guess if they're like Mormons, you live in this area, so that's your ward. Well, you live here, so this is your coven, whether you're part of it or not. I don't know. That was interesting. They said, "Are you a witch?" If she was already a member, they would have known she fucking was.
I feel like that may have been a bit of a formality, though. Like they want her to acknowledge that she has certain responsibilities and a certain code of ethics, being a witch, or at least part of this particular coven, that she needs to admit that she knew what the rules were, and that she shouldn't have violated them. But
like, it's probably still a sisterhood of witches in a way. Like,
yes, very much.
What you're saying, whether you are or not. Yeah, maybe.
No.
Maybe they happened upon her, but then again, when it opened up, it said Salem 16 something. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, this is about to be a burning at the stake kind of thing. And when they all went around, I was like, I didn't know they were witches at first. I thought this was like the townspeople.
Me too.
Because I'm like, oh, they caught one, and because here we go. It's the tale as old as time. They're like, are you a witch?
Like a KKK kind of thing. Like they all were hooded. They went out in the woods with someone they were, gonna hurt. Yeah, I get it.
But then it's like, you realize they're all witches, and I'm like, no, they'll turn on their own, I guess, if they thought maybe something was dangerous about her.
Well,
it kind of feels like the Jedi, and like she's Anakin Skywalker. Like that's kind of, they're like afraid of like what she could possibly be.
Yeah, but the one primary thing that we learned from this whole scene is that Agatha's ultimate goal is to suck yo magic out of your body and then leave you as a shriveled up little mummy looking thing on the ground. And this makes that yo magic commercial from a couple episodes ago starkly clear. When the shark says, "I feed on yo magic," that's what she's doing.
Starkly clear? Starkly? Really?
Well, it was pretty clear during the commercial, but it was pretty clear during the commercial, but yeah, this made it very, very clear exactly what Agatha's intentions are for Wanda. She either wants to learn what she learns or take her power from her. So that is clearly Agatha's motivation through all of this.
Well, no, you said starkly. I'm like, starkly. Yeah, because I don't know if we're segueing into the episode. I'm like, because it seemed like she was genuine. And it also points that you brought up during the show, like when she was talking about Sparky. And then when she was like, Mom can bring back people from the dead. She's like, you can? Like, I thought she, like, when we were talking about that, with this in context now, it's like, it's almost like she broke character for a sec. Like, wait a minute, you can do that shit? It still seemed like it worked in the moment, but it's also now knowing, like, oh, she might have just been like, whoa, what are you capable of? And maybe that's kind of funny how, seeing how these witches looked at her, it's almost like she's looking at Wanda in the same way, because she was asking her, how did you do this? And we were also saying, like, maybe she genuinely doesn't know.
Well, that takes us on to the next scene that we found ourselves at. Actually, there's one more thing I want to point out before we get to that. Let me put the picture back up here real quick. There is this... I got to find the picture now. It's this one right here. These are the two pictures I had up. It's these two right here. One of them is... The one on top is obviously the one of all the other witches in the coven trying to execute Agatha. But this picture on the bottom, you can see when her mother decides to get into the mix... and shoot her super badass Mother of the Coven powers at her. You see that little crown that develops on her head?
I'm glad you noticed that. I actually wrote a question. Is the blue energy on Mother's Witch forehead looks like a crown? Was that significant?
I think it's probably significant to a point. I don't know. Now, the last words that are spoken in the episode, and we'll get to that in a minute, kind of make it a little bit more important, I think. I think mostly right now, it's significant because she is just the more powerful witch of the Coven. But they have a way of putting those little things in here and making them significant without us even, seeing it coming. So it's possible. I don't know off the top of my head, but...
Because isn't that blue thing the shape of Wanda's head thing in the comics?
It's similar. It's not
if
exactly
you outlined
the same.
it.
Yeah, it's similar. It's not exactly the same. But we're going to look at that picture here a little bit later on, too, as we get to... that flashback with the experiments from Strucker. But after we get done with the flashback that gives us a glimpse of the insight, a little bit of insight into the background of Agatha, we end up back in Agatha's basement, where she goes off on her supervillain monologue. There's a couple of things in this episode that stuck out to me. One is even Agatha makes fun of the changing accent of Wanda, which I thought it maybe was a little bit of a nod to the fans more than any significant dialogue.
Same with Pietro.
But honestly,
well, technically that was her.
Yeah, think of it like
can I make a moment here? I called it that was a fake Pietro that was controlled by Agnes, and I was right. I'm pretty proud of that.
Well, let's think about this for a second here. Let's think about how great how well the writers of this series and really in the entire MCU know us. How many times have they asked the questions of themselves while we were asking them to ourselves after watching this? And they were doing this shit a year in advance. Like, do you remember back a few episodes ago where Jimmy Woo was writing the questions on the whiteboard, and they were all the questions that we were asking ourselves about the series and what the hell's going on?
Yes.
Is this actually Pietro? Is Vision still alive? Is he the real Vision? Yada yada. All those questions he was writing on that whiteboard were all the questions that were burning through our heads. And it's the same thing right now. That she even mentions the making fun of, wow, your accent changes with the wind or whatever. Like, even that.
It comes and goes.
Yeah, the accent really comes and goes. Even that. The way that they know us as fans is mind-boggling. But another thing that was significant to me was that Wanda's magic doesn't work in Agatha's basement. Now, Agatha makes reference to this when Wanda tries to shoot Red Wiggly Woos and nothing happens. But this is where I first actually start to get concerned with this series a little bit, with what they're doing with
Why?
Wanda.
It made sense to me, though.
It makes sense, but this is the beginning of what it looks like, to me anyway, them trying to retcon a little bit of Wanda's backstory. And this concerns me a bit, because Marvel hasn't done a whole lot wrong in my eyes. And even the stuff in my eyes that I would have done differently is not necessarily bad. So the idea of her actually being a witch and not a enhanced person, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit for me from a lot of different angles. But
that could just be the label Agnes gave her.
Because
it may not actually be.
But you
are the Scarlet Witch.
You can label someone something, but them not be that thing. I could label Jeremy as a 7-foot-tall center for the New York Knicks. That doesn't make him that. You know what I mean?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. But so that's the first part of it. This is something that Agatha kind of gets at over the course of this entire episode that I don't really like, especially once we get into Sokovia. We'll get that in just a second. But Agatha goes into this supervillain monologue, and she confirms something that, like you said, that we all kind of knew, that Pietro, the one that we've seen in this series, is neither Wanda's real brother, nor is he the X-Men version of Quicksilver. He is neither. I thought for a long time, and I mentioned on our shows, that I thought casting Evan Peters was just fan service. I thought it was a little bit of an Easter egg, a little bit of a misdirect, a little bit of fan service, all wrapped up into one, that he is not some bridge between the X-Men universe that we've gotten from Fox to the MCU that we've all known for the last 10 or 12 years, that he is not that. It is just some fan service and a misdirection. That is absolutely all it is. She confirms that by saying, she actually talks about necromancy, but not being able to get her brother's actual body back because he's on another continent. So this is something that she developed out of her own imagination just to throw it out there so Wanda would use it. She even mentions that you were so torn up and bent by your grief that you didn't even notice the differences or were willing to overlook them just for the sake of having your brother back. She even mentioned that when talking to her.
I guess as Wolverine said, we have an X-Men fan here. Maybe she...
But there's
she is.
There's something else that she says to Wanda that really blew me away, though. It's actually something that Monica said to Wanda in the last episode. She says to Wanda, you would rather fall apart than face your own truth. This echoes that conversation that she had with Monica in the last episode. Yes. Where they're talking about their own truth, facing your own truth. It's my truth. I've learned to accept it. And I think there's certain points over the course of this episode where Wanda is starting to let that truth seep in a little bit. Because there are some expressions that she gets in her face, and maybe this was just really good acting by Elizabeth Olsen on her part, but there's some of the expressions on her face when they get to these certain points in this episode. It seems to me that she's kind of coming to grips with what is really happening, and realizing that this weird holodeck hex fantasy that she's created for herself probably isn't right in some way, shape, or form. What do you guys think of all the interaction in Agatha's basement?
Well, I will say this. I typed this whole quote up because it just was so... I don't know. It seems pivotal. Oh, Wanda, when I sense this place, the afterglow, so many spells cast all at once. I couldn't make heads or tail of it. You're even running illusions on the edge of town, magic on autopilot. That right there, to me, in that one sentence, explains why the fuck she's there. She didn't even know Wanda before this. She sensed the magic, and I have a feeling, just like with the Coven, I think that's why they showed us the Salem 1693 stuff. She's there to take Wanda's power and make herself bigger and stronger.
I was going to say, this is a search for power, because now she's realizing, holy shit, she can do something that I would like to know how to do.
Yeah, and so it's like, boom, we finally fucking know why she's there. She had nothing to do with the creation of it. That was before we even get into the flashbacks where we find out how she created it. It's like, okay, finally we know. Nobody brought her there to set it up. Wanda didn't ask her to help her keep it going. She literally came here to take Wanda's power, or learn from Wanda how to make her power better, or at the very least, try to con Wanda into teaming up with her and being like a bad boy duo or something.
I know she's trying to like help her or not. Like, I don't really know if it's completely malicious. She seems, like I said, she seems like enthralled by the fact that she did that. Like, she seems really impressed. She just wants to know.
Like, it's
like, how'd you do this?
Well, remember,
and she goes.
Well, in the comics, Agatha is not a straight-up bad guy. She, at times, is a mentor to Wanda. And there are several points in this episode where even she seems moved by Wanda's story. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's why we probably do that whole Ghost of Christmas Past thing, where now we're going and like you were saying, this is what I was going to mention, like, maybe now she's seeing it from an outside perspective of where she's at in her life now, and then maybe sunk in a little more as opposed to when she was experiencing it during her life.
Yeah.
And then I heard the very best line in the whole episode at the end of the scene. Agnes said it. It's time to look at some real reruns. It's like, hell yes, that whoever wrote that and placed it there right before they walk through the door, which, by the way she created it and it opens, it reminds me something like it's a nod to the Narnia book series, you know, just saying.
Yeah. Like some Twilight Zone shit.
Yeah. It's very cool.
Fucking just see Rod Sterling in the fucking doorway, and then in the color version you got fucking Jordan Peele.
And each of the doors was different. As she went through different doors. So that was fucking good thinking there too. But
it's like I could tell which part of her life they were going to go to by what door it was. I'm like, oh, that's going to be when she was in Sokovia. I'm like, oh, that's when she was with Hydra. I'm like, I was like, oh, this is nice.
And did you guys also notice that, like, when they first started the conversation, when Agnes first comes around, she's talking to her rabbit. She almost seems like she's on speed, and she's getting more and more intoxicated every moment in this conversation sequence with Wanda. Like, there's so much anticipation that she's built up to this moment of figuring out what the fuck is going on and how did Wanda do this, and that she can't control her excitement. And then in a flash of a moment, boom, she turns cold, determined, and it's just like, I mean, it was, for that actress, I forget what her name is, that was really good acting in a very short time sequence. So, I mean,
they don't just let any schlub come on there and be on a Marvel property.
Yeah.
Just saying. She went from being high on drugs to being a determined cold bitch.
Absolutely.
So,
as we leave Agatha's basement, like she said, we go back through all these things that are representative of this horrible trauma that Wanda has suffered over the course of her life. And I was talking to Jennifer a little bit ago because she just sat down and actually got a chance to watch it with me for the first time, to watch it all the way through. And I was telling her that Wanda, not only is she probably the strongest person in the MCU right now, alongside maybe Captain Marvel. Because they draw their power directly from the Infinity Stones, or at least got them from the Infinity Stones, rather, is she is also a person who, mentally, she is just absolutely destroyed. I mean, even before it being experimented on by Strucker, this is a girl who, her and her family lived in a war-torn, destroyed country where, they were lucky to have a steady supply of food on the table, let alone be able to walk to school without getting shot. I mean, you think,
like Syria today.
Yeah, well, yeah, like a lot of the countries over there in Europe and Western, the old Soviet bloc, they're just having trouble doing anything. It's like she grew up in abject, horrible poverty and war. On top of that,
she's never had a good life.
yeah. While living with that, the bomb comes and blows up her apartment and kills her parents. So there's second thing she's had to deal with is terrible, and then she deals on down the line with the death of her brother. Well, I mean, before that, then the experimenting by Strucker, which had to have put her through some emotional toll. And then the death of her brother. And then the death of Vision. Even before the death of Vision, the incident...
2 deaths of Vision.
Yeah, 2 deaths of Vision. Even before that, the incident in Lagos. She is... most human beings, even the strongest people I know, wouldn't be able to make it halfway down the path that Wanda's walked to this point without completely losing their shit. Wanda has gone through all of this. It is not a surprise at all to see her break, to see her finally have this snap in her head where she's just had enough, and she either the good side of her brain switches out and the bad side takes over. You know what I mean? So, we find ourselves in Sokovia, and when the first thing, like I said, Wanda's mother looks out the window. You can see that there's war in the streets. There's guys that are shooting each other and all that. They're trying to live this cookie cutter life up there and give their kids some sense that everything in their life is okay and normal and it's supposed to be the way it is. But at the same time, she looks out there and she knows better. I mean, that was as a parent, that was hard.
I wrote the foreshadowing of her mother's brief concern about what she sees out the window, then snaps back into quote happy mood with her kids. Tells you something bad is about to happen. And as someone who doesn't know the history other than her parents are dead, I knew then that something bad was about to happen. This isn't just a scene about her learning the love of sitcoms. And holy fuck, let me tell you, the 3 times I've watched it, the first time especially, the moment when the bomb blasts, I jumped, and I don't know if it was just because I had the headphones on or how they lulled you into this sense of complacency with the audio being cut out for the TV show.
Well, they did.
And all you hear is the giggling and the small noises within their apartment to kind of like lull you into the sense of, this is a perfect family scene. It's so poetic. All this happiness. They're so perfect together. And then boom.
Nope.
And I just was like, what the? I mean, I don't get affected by TV and movies easily, but that jarred me as if I was literally sitting in my car and got in a car crash or felt an earthquake in my house. It was that, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who felt that, but woo!
No, even, see, it's done very, very well. It's meant to, because mom looked out, and it's like they're trying to just have their own little world in this apartment. They're doing it for their kids. They're trying to just have a nice moment. Like, she looks out and sees all the crap going on in the streets, and it's like she has that, like, she knows this, but they're just trying to have a normal moment. And like, I knew it was coming, but it still was just like, because it's like you're getting sucked into that with them.
Because immediately they could have gone another way, Jeremy. They could have literally like segued into like another day where they're all in the apartment, and then it would have happened. And this was just like a little window before things got bad. But no, they just bundled it all together and just, the contrast from that scene was.
And it shows that's how quickly shit just fell right apart for her. And it's like, I get it, her parents died. But it's also like, you didn't really, I don't know. it's not like she really saw them die, but it's still like, you know, it was just gone in an instant.
And then the one thing I thought was weird is you don't see, and maybe it was for the sake of time, and they only have so many minutes for airtime here. But why didn't they show the kids trying to find their parents' bodies? Did they fast forward to when they knew they already looked and found their parents' dead bodies, or? I mean, and then the bomb.
I think they're sitting on the or underneath the rebel couch now.
I don't know. It was just something I thought. It could mean nothing, but it also could be telling that she just knows, like somehow she knows they're dead, and it's a sign that she has that ability to sense things around her. I don't know. What do you guys think of the bomb angle? Was it a probability hex that she didn't even know she did, or was the bomb actually defective? That's a question I really want to know.
That was the next thing I was going to mention, because she does say, like, look, maybe this stems from something, like, it wasn't just for when you got your, you know, wibbly woos from fucking Hydra and Strucker. It's like, did she unknowingly do something?
Did you see her reaching her hand out?
Yeah, it's like she was trying to, I don't know, maybe she had some sort of instinct to just kind of protect. I mean, maybe she was only able, because she's a child, it was only to protect her and her brother.
What do you think, Frank? Are we off mark here, or what do you think?
No, I think that was meant to pose a question. Because I don't know entirely why Agatha thinks that she was gifted with these powers before the experimentation with Strucker. Because one of the things that I can't get past in this idea that Agatha has, that she already had powers, is that would mean by extension that Pietro probably also had powers, and it doesn't allude to that at all. All the focus here is on Wanda. Now, granted, but the thing is all of Agatha's focus is on Wanda, because she wants Wanda's powers. So I wonder if part of that if it was part flashback and part theorizing on the part of Agatha. Because one of the things I noticed about
she's trying to figure it out
is when she reaches out to that unexploded Stark bomb. One of the things that I noticed is that there are no red wiggly woos that come out of her hand.
Exactly.
So if she would, and Agatha, and I think she even says in the scene, the experimentation may have helped enhance something that otherwise would have died on the vine, inferring that she
died
thinks
on the vine,
that Wanda already had these powers, but they were going to go unworked,
developed,
unused, underdeveloped, and they were just going to go away and
and
die on the vine, as opposed to being fed and grown.
So you're saying Agnes is mistaking her for a witch when really it's probably just a mutation thing?
I think Agatha. Well, don't say mutation, because I don't think we're going to go there yet.
Sorry.
I don't know. Here. But I think that part of this is Agatha wanting this to be the case, and maybe not knowing the truth, and maybe even to a point, maybe even Wanda not knowing the truth. I'm not saying it's impossible that she didn't already have these powers, but I'm saying that I think saying that she had them already kind of retcons what we already know about the character, and I don't really like that idea.
I think that's what you were saying, is like maybe, because this is maybe just Agatha, and maybe just reflection on Wanda's part, it's Agatha trying to figure out, like, okay, so where in your life, like, there's these events that we'll make into commercials later, that we're going to see what really happened with you. Because she's like, because didn't she say, like, all I see here is a little child with a probability hex, or something like that, which is like, well, maybe she didn't know. Maybe I don't know. That one we can maybe let go, because it's like, yeah, she got her stuff from an Infinity Stone, and maybe she just got. I mean, it does seem kind of weird that, like, her parents died and they were sitting on the couch right behind them, and then her and Pietro lived. Maybe she just got stupid lucky, and then, like, you know, the events of her life led her to being there with Strucker and getting the powers.
Yeah, I do think so. I do think a part of that flashback
it's a stepping stone.
Yeah, I do think a part of that flashback was Agatha not necessarily showing Wanda the past, but showing kind of what she wants out of this whole situation. I'm still not 100% convinced that that's the case.
It's like she's showing a scene. She's like the crime scene investigator, and she's like, okay, now, what did we learn? Right, now she's like, so what do we see here in this event? You know what I mean? It's like she's trying to dissect it.
Yeah.
It's almost like she's trying to show or mine the initial emotion from Wanda's reaction to try to read her without worrying that Wanda's hiding something. Like, she wants the raw reaction to these horrific moments.
Next spinoff, CSI Marvel. I'm here for it.
Yes. And what do you think it means when she says...
Maybe Agatha and Wanda be the two buddy cops in the fucking movie. I don't know, or the series.
What do you think it means when Agatha says the only way forward is back? Is that symbolic for something like in a bigger picture here, or is that just her making reference to them looking at her history? Because to me,
yeah,
I don't know. That kind of pulled a little twinge, like, I need to remember that she said this.
Because maybe she's trying to say, like, well, because remember, this is almost like Wanda coming to a realization, like she said, that maybe she's not doing the right thing here. It's like, maybe the only way we move past this shit is by looking in the past at what had already happened to you.
And what I really don't get is, why is she, either she's lying to Agatha, or she's going in and out of delusion from her own spell, but she talks to Pietro in the square on the Halloween episode, so you really don't think what I'm doing here is bad. Blah, 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 blah. And acknowledging what she's doing to, I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I'm doing it. There's a disconnect there.
Well, it may tie into, you said your favorite line. I'm like, actually, mine was completely different. My favorite line that I took away from this, and it may have been what, we see next, which was one of the later flashbacks. Like, I don't know if you want to go into the next one with, like, the Strucker, but...
Well, go ahead. We're headed to the Strucker experiment next, so go ahead.
Well, no, it's after that. I mean, the part I'm talking about is after that.
Why would Wanda
in Wanda's room
be so aware of what she's
Vision.
doing with Pietro, but to Agatha, go, I don't know.
What I'm gonna say is, like, I don't want to jump ahead of myself and, like, ruin it. I was like, I think she genuinely didn't really know.
Like I said, I think
I'll get to that point.
I do think part of this is not necessarily going back and seeing, frame for frame Wanda's memories. I think part of it is probably Agatha trying to guide Wanda down a certain path to get what she wants out of it. Because, like I said, even though Agatha is not necessarily a good guy or a bad guy, she plays both sides of the fence to her needs in the comics. I think that she generally probably does care about Wanda's well-being in the end, but she does want Wanda's powers, or at least wants to figure out how to get powers
or her collaboration, at least, to control her.
So she'll protect Wanda if it helps her, but if she has to destroy Wanda to get what she wants, she absolutely will. But, after we leave Sokovia, we end up moving forward to the experiments that Strucker performs on Wanda and her brother Pietro back in Sokovia. Wanda walks into this room that has Loki's scepter that we saw in the Avengers and several other points in the MCU. So she walks in, the stone pops out of the scepter and floats towards her, and they ask her to reach out and touch it. Now, when she reaches out and touches it, we get a killer visual. First off, that visual in her eyes was one thing. And I'm going to make a whole separate scene of this other one because it's mind-blowingly good. We do see it, and you can kind of see it in her eyes right there, this vision of... I tend to think that it's kind of the Wanda that she will become. You know what I mean?
Maybe she unlocked the DLC powers. Now she's like, haha. Didn't have to pay for them either. Well, paid for them with a little bit of suffering.
What is she? What I want to know is why. Okay, they say she's a quote volunteer, but she looks like she's a scraggly prisoner. The room she's in watching sitcoms after the experiment looks like a prison cell. She looks scared walking in the room. What the fuck is going on? Is she in prison or not? I mean,
again,
I'm a volunteer. What? I mean, was she in prison? But they said, well, if you want to volunteer, this may get you a better room or something. I mean, it doesn't seem like a facility where they're actually doing R&D with people that actually want to be a part of it.
I mean, she probably, in a way, is. But again, remember, she is, again, from Sokovia. She's probably still reeling from that.
No. I'm just talking about the clothes, her hair.
Well, I know, but she still came from a shitty place, and then she went.
Well, you got to remember, they promised her a lot of shit. She even says that her and Pietro joined that Hydra-run organization because they wanted to make a difference or to change the world, is what they said. I think.
Right.
So she
and then they
she
ended
may
up
have,
there.
Yeah, she volunteered, but they probably said, this is some of the stuff we can do, but you have to do this crazy shit in order for us to do it. And they bought into that because, I mean, what did they have left? They're growing up in a war-torn country. Their parents have been killed by this war. They probably don't have much going on except their little protests that we saw. That we see.
Told them what they wanted to hear.
But, you know,
so what is...
Go ahead.
So, sorry. I was going to say, so...
Probably not a choice.
I guess what is the... I mean, where did they find this staff and this stone, and what is the history? I mean, I'm not someone who knows this shit. Is that staff significant somewhere else? Where the fuck did they find it?
Go watch the Avengers.
Very much.
Go watch the Avengers. That'll explain the existence.
In the timeline here of these Strucker people, how did they get it?
Hydra. It's
they were
it's right after
Okay.
Well, you see it in Endgame a little bit too from a different perspective. They take Loki's scepter, like, here, careful with that thing.
Okay, okay. So, and then also...
And they're in the elevator with Cap, so they have the... Yeah.
Okay. So, I have a quick question, though. Do you think Wanda was controlling the camera footage, or was it just stuff that only she could see in like, some super fast dimensional activity that couldn't be captured on the camera?
I think it was the stone.
It is the Mind Stone.
I think it was the stone that did it. The stones are, in a sense, living things. At least they were when they still existed. But I mean, the stones are living things. I mean, they have their own kind of life to them. So,
and come on, it's Loki's scepter, the god of mischief. He's just like, nope, not going to see that.
And why did it go from blue to yellow?
It's the Mind Stone. That blue thing is actually just something that holds the Mind Stone. If you watch Age of Ultron, he actually pulls that blue thing out of the staff and squeezes it and breaks it to get to the actual Mind Stone, which is what's in Vision's head. That's what gave Vision.
That's why it looked familiar. Okay.
I was like, the yellow is Vision's. Yeah.
Yeah, but the super freaking cool visual about this is on the screen now. That visual, like I said, Wanda is seeing, I think, what she is to become. Now, if she becomes... I don't think Scarlet Witch is necessarily a moniker that... I don't think it's the moniker that Agatha thinks it is. I think she's going to end up assuming that role, or Wanda will. But I don't think the Scarlet Witch is what Agatha thinks it is. I think it's probably something that exists in Agatha's history of witchcraft and what she believes.
Yeah, from the 1600s. Yeah, I mean, that's like old school label for something that reminds her of what Wanda is, but Wanda is nothing like that.
Yeah, I think it's an old legend in witchcraft, and she thinks Wanda is that, but Wanda is something completely different. I don't think that Wanda is a witch the way that she has achieved her witchcraftiness. But yeah, this visual is stunning, and if you guys haven't seen some of the pictures that are going around online of the people that have color corrected this and stuff like that, actually, I think Nightwatch actually put a picture up on his a day or two ago. They've color corrected it. She's actually got like a chest plate, kind of like Vision's. I mean, she looks very superhero-y when you color correct a lot of this stuff, and you can actually make out her face a lot clearer. They're stunning pictures. I didn't get a chance to grab one before we went live, but it's absolutely stunning. Jeremy, have you seen any of those pictures?
I have not. I didn't even really think about that now that you say it, but it doesn't surprise me that people have tried to manipulate it a little bit to see like, okay, who was that? Who was that silhouette? It's got to be somebody. Hey, maybe Wanda and Vision doing like a little fusion, like from Dragon Ball Z. That'd be dope.
Yeah, the cool thing is you see not only the reflection in Wanda's eyes, but you also get this visual that's on the screen right now, which is just stunning.
If they like combine that and make that look like her, if that is what she ends up being, because it's kind of a nice nod, because you see the little prongs up there, like from the old comic book Scarlet Witch, but it kind of looks like something she'd still wear, like it looks like her jacket and shit like that.
Yeah.
But maybe she somehow, excuse me, I may be making predictions, but since that isn't Vision, maybe she fucking does just, and then boom, she fucking walks out like that. Maybe that's the final shot of the fucking of WandaVision. We end up seeing that again.
And did you also notice that at the end of this scene, when she's going into the next door, she doesn't hesitate. It's like she's waiting for the next door to open, and she's going straight into it. Like, there's no apprehension or like, I don't want to do the next thing. It's like she knew somehow that she was going to get to see Vision in the next sequence, and she wanted to get there.
because she knew things started finally turning around for her, because like her shitty life up until that point, she just didn't want to have to go through the really traumatic
it just made me think she's almost getting lost in all this and is going to be weak to whatever Agatha has for her at the end of this. Like her guard is down at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
There was no apprehension to go through the next door.
Well, no, not because she knew, like, well, but again, when we see the doors, she probably recognized, oh, that's the door from the Avengers compound. She'd be like, wait a minute.
I hadn't even thought of that.
See what I mean? She maybe caught on to the door. She knew, like, oh, that's my shitty door from Sokovia. That's the door
What
from
a good
Hydra.
point, Jeremy. Thank you.
It's kind of like what you said. Like, she finally knew, wait a minute, this next one's going to be... Because the first thing she says is, this is the Avengers compound. This is the first home me and Vision ever shared. Like, something finally good in her life. Which, there you go. There's your segue, Frank.
Yeah.
To the next door, as you will.
Getting on to the next door, and I was hoping you guys would talk just a little bit longer because I had screwed my pictures up and got them out of order. But
no, it's okay. Well, I did have one thing. I did have one thing I want to say from the previous one, the Strucker experiment at the end when they're talking and she's in the cell. It's almost like Agatha was like, "Okay, I'm putting these together," and then like she said, "I need more." And I was just like, "Oh, so."
Yeah,
she's kind of figured it out, but it's almost like she's putting together like a recipe or something.
There's more to it because, well, this is part of the pivotal point where she was realizing, okay, when you went here, some crazy shit happened. This might be the most of the answers that I get, right? So this is like, because I think Vision was probably the next, that's the next big cog in the machine.
Do you think Agatha is thinking that she wants to try to get her hands on that stone?
Well, good luck, because it's gone.
Yeah,
they're all gone now. They're all gone. I don't know. That almost sounds like an Assassin's Creed thing, where they're like, hey, let's look into the past to figure out where this item of power went, and then we'll track it through fucking time here, and we'll find it. I'm like, yeah, but Cap already threw you a middle finger and said, nope, don't think I will.
Yeah, moving on into the Wanda's room of the compound. Vision is trying to do the same thing, ultimately, that Agatha's trying to do. He's trying to get Wanda to talk about her feelings and to deal with all this stuff as a way of helping her kind of get through her grief. She seems pretty inconsolable, obviously, and she says something similar to... Well, she says earlier, the last episode, or a couple episodes ago, talking to her brother at the center of town, all I feel is, emptiness, loneliness, and all that. And she says, when talking about her brother, the only thing that will bring me comfort is seeing him again. Now, Vision, ironically, kind of forms a bond with Wanda as he's telling her that he never had anyone to love, so he doesn't know what it's like to lose somebody. Because at this point, Vision's still kind of young in his particular existence. But
it's just a machine.
Yeah, so this is the kind of the first couple steps of their budding romance. Did you guys think?
I thought so too. You could tell like they were on the precipice of like touching, like they hadn't gotten there yet. And it was.
I mean, I love his smooth little line. He goes to the door and he's like, "Oh, well, I didn't intend to come in here."
but what he said was so.
You smooth bastard.
He goes, "What is grief if not love persevering?"
You see,
thank you. That was the line. That was my favorite line from this whole fucking. I about cried. I'm like, oh, he's.
I started to, but then I stopped, and then I started crying in the next one. But
well, yes, that was what gut punched me again. Was that, and that's where I was getting to.
And did you notice throughout the previous scenes? The sequence of sitcoms she watches mirrors the order of the ones they used to shape Westview from the start of the series in the intros for the previous episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They didn't do The Office, but they did the other ones.
And that's what I'm saying. I was wondering, like I said, aren't these actually the manifestations of the commercials? Like the bigger version, like, I mean, with the opening scene, like I said, being the witches being sucked out of existence, which is like the shark. But each of the commercials, I think, have except maybe the one with the Cap, have all kind of come into, come to light.
I'd have to rewatch the commercials, I'll be honest. But I think you're onto something there.
Because, the first one with the toaster, the Stark toaster, which is the bomb going off in her apartment, or not going off, rather, killing her parents, and then the Strucker watch. And then,
yeah.
I think it might have been the Lagos one next. And then,
and the fact, I don't know, I think this was a very pivotal time for her because she was having such horrid grief about losing her brother. And it's almost like it was the start of their bond. And it makes you wonder if they would have bonded and fallen in love if she hadn't lost her brother.
Yeah, and it's like what I assume she's an adult now. It's like that's been her whole life, and now she's a functioning adult. It's like that's all you've ever had. Maybe also, like she said, being in this, because Agatha does mention, "Ooh, this is a nice place. Like this is a nice change," and that's part of what it feels like to Wanda. She's like, "This is the nicest place I've ever been in." Like it's part of like a shock to her. Like, whoa, like I get to live here, and then like I said, then this charming little fucking red dude with a a very dope sweater. I will admit, he does rock that sweater.
Yeah, well, while we're seeing the beginnings of the Vision and Wanda relationship forming in that scene, there is something else in that scene, and you guys mentioned already, is that line of "What is grief if not love persevering?" This is the second time that Vision has had
Love that.
maybe the best line in the MCU. This was right up there with that time, and Jeremy will remember it. Towards the end of Age of Ultron, where Vision runs into the last Ultron, and they have that, which I think is a fantastic conversation, where Ultron looks at Vision and says they're going to destroy themselves, and Vision looks at him and goes, "I know." He's like, "But a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts." And I was like, damn, that line hit hard then. This line hit just as hard when he said it. There is something about Vision, the way he sees things, that is stunning and puts everything in the MCU in a different perspective. That makes you appreciate everything that's happening that much more.
And maybe because Wanda kind of looked at him too, like she kind of had a different perspective on it too. Like maybe she had a realization, like hearing it from him, it was like, oh.
When he first said he was talking about her brother,
like that it was okay.
Is exactly what she needs to hear.
Yeah.
Going into the last episode when she loses Vision for the third time, she needs to embrace this, that it's grief is love persevering.
Yeah, and I think that
maybe this is what will save her.
Yeah, there are several times over the course of this episode where it seems like Wanda is coming to terms with what is really happening. And, and the next time we see her, she's obviously walked from there into the sword base, and we get a clearer picture as to exactly what Wanda's intentions for Vision's bodies were. We see her walking into the sword base, and all she wants to do is take Vision and bury him, which is understandable. When you've lost somebody, you want to do a proper burial. Go ahead.
What is this timeline-wise to the day when Monica showed up at Sword? Are we talking like the 3 weeks before that she showed up after they were snapped back?
I would imagine that.
Remember when the director said you're the first one back?
This is before the Hex came, so.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, is this in the time frame after Monica came back in the hospital, but before she came to Sword?
It's got to be in that time frame somewhere, because we have to assume that Wanda, who was snapped away, also probably came back the same moment that Monica did. So.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. I just was trying to ask that quick.
Yeah, This is why you need to catch up on all the movies. You'll know some of the stuff. See, I'll send you my Disney Plus account. You can catch up all you want. But back at the sword base, Wanda shows up. She wants to bury him. Now, this is, to me, confirms what I've been thinking about Hayward. He's
a fucking dirty liar.
Well, he is all that, but I still don't think he's a bad guy. Hayward seems to let Wanda in. Hayward seems to let Wanda in, even though he doesn't have to, letting her say goodbye and trying to explain his thoughts to her.
But he only lets her in when he watches her for like 20 fucking minutes and realizes, if I don't let her in, she's gonna blow this place up.
Well, he probably knew that.
But here's the thing. If she would have done that, he would have vindicated him by not letting her in at all. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He could have said, because if me or you wouldn't be able to just walk in there and be like, I want to see Vision's body.
I think he cares too much about the vibranium, whatever is on Vision's body.
He does.
And the value of it. And he doesn't want Wanda to destroy it, so if he brings her in, he can contain her enough. He hopes.
He did say, like, I'm not going to let you walk in here take, like, billions of dollars of vibranium and just
he
put it in
kept
the
saying,
ground.
he isn't yours. He isn't yours. And that's what pissed her off.
Well, yeah.
Well, he's not wrong.
I agree with him, but the thing is, here's my biggest question. They show her looking at him parts, touching his head and shit. But then they say at the beginning of the series that she took his body. She didn't take his body that day, so she came back for it?
This dickhead just threw her under and said, hey, she came in here and jacked fucking Vision's body. Fuck
but
this
she
bitch.
didn't. She manifested it. I'm getting ahead, but so he lied. So he's a shady fuck.
Well, again,
he's
doing stupid things, that's for sure. But I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a good guy who is doing dumb things for the right reasons. That's not unheard of. That's not unheard of in any movie.
So Frank, do you think she took the body or not?
No. It shows very
She
clearly.
walked out of there.
But see,
So
here's the
why
thing
did
is,
he lie and say she did?
because he has his agenda. He's not a bad guy, but he has an agenda. He does want to keep control of this weapon because he knows that if somebody else gets a hold of it who doesn't have the intentions that he has, that it could be chaos. He would rather have that weapon in his pocket than have somebody else have it.
It's like he is a sentient weapon. They're like, we don't want someone this getting into the wrong hands.
Oh, for real?
And
absolutely.
And I mean, I know she walked up to him, and another heartbreaking scene where she's like, I can't feel you. Like, I don't feel you there anymore. But, like, he said, like, well, who knew? All we needed was a little bit from the source. So I'm like, well, from the drone that he tried to attack her with, and it got imbued with some of her power. I'm like, maybe, like I said, there is this deeper connection. Again, maybe it is just love persevering.
I don't know. The whole thing just screamed, he is shady as fuck. He lied about her taking the body.
Well, think about this
Monica.
for a second, though. Wanda breaks the window and goes down there. Now, he would have been 100% in his right to turn his dogs on her and set fire. He didn't do it. He said,
well, they did.
He said, stand
down.
down.
She destroy... Because he cared more about Vision's body. He didn't want her destroying it.
They weren't shooting Vision. First off, Vision's vibranium. You can shoot Vision all you fucking want. It took Thanos to kill Vision. I mean,
well, taking the stone out of his head, not necessarily Vision himself. He wouldn't have been able to do shit to him.
Well, yeah, it took Thanos to take Vision out.
Or
one
Black
way or
Panther.
the other. Nobody else was taking Vision out anywhere. I mean, lots of people are throwing punches at Vision, and Vision just goes translucent and they go right through him.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't he break Cap's shield? You could break vibranium. It's gonna suck, but
hold on. All I'm saying is they weren't shooting at Vision. He had all the right in the world. Hayward did. When she broke that window and floated down there to say, open fire and kill that girl, she's trying to steal Vision. And he didn't. He told them to back off. He told them to stand down. And what did he say?
I don't remember.
She needs this.
Back down. Oh, but he also needs her, because think about it. He probably thought in the back of his mind, I might need her powers to reanimate him. I might need her alive for future purposes. It was all selfish.
Also, you're not just going to shoot Wanda either. That ain't going to do shit. You can't just shoot her either.
Well, I don't know that she's bulletproof, but she could probably certainly react fast enough to stop the bullets. That's my guess. But I mean, we didn't get to that part, thankfully, so we don't know for
And he probably was self-serving, because if she decided to blow the room up and protect herself, he would have died. He was right there.
Well, he wasn't going to blow the room up. He was going to have them shoot Wanda.
No, her. If she got mad enough or something, I don't know her well enough.
Well, that would have been looking bad on her part, because who's the only ones that walk out of there is Wanda, looking like she attacked the shield base, or the sword base.
I don't think she would have cared, to be honest. I don't.
No, but then that kind of puts a target on her back still.
Oh, it does.
If it's not Hayward, there's going to be another Hayward somewhere that's going to be coming after her.
I'm telling you, while I think Hayward he's a good guy.
Slimy?
He's certainly slimy. But again, you got to think of what his reasons are. I don't think that Hayward is slimy because he's a bad guy. I think he definitely has an agenda, but his agenda works for the same reasons that other good guys' agendas are working. They want to protect people. He's just not going about it the same way that some of us would. So where some of us might have been... Look, I still say he's showing Wanda a good deal of empathy, considering the fact that... Honestly, think of it this way. Who's done more bad in this series, Hayward or Wanda?
I think Hayward.
Really?
On purpose?
Really? Who's done more bad?
I was going to say Wanda, but on purpose?
Yes. I think it hasn't all come about.
She reacts out of, like I said, like from her trauma and her emotions.
Like, he's got an agenda, and I don't think he even gives a shit about Westview and all the people in it. He wants Wanda and her powers to work in his favor so that he can, in a lab, do what he wants with Vision's body.
Yeah, but why does he want that to happen?
I don't know.
Because
that just seems like his agenda.
Because he does want to be able to protect the people in the end. Honestly, answer me this. Who has done more evil over the course of the series, Wanda or Hayward? Hayward. What has Hayward done? Yeah, he's been a little
good
slimy.
Intention.
Yeah, but what has Wanda done? She has kidnapped an entire town, taken their free will from them. It's like, has Hayward done that?
The next scene, though, again, Did
I don't
she
know.
though? Because like
that's the thing. And then I have notes too, Jeremy. I made it a thing after we get to the Westview thing. I literally asked, did she mean to just build the house and then out of anger it just spread out and she didn't really know what she was doing, or was this all intentional? I could see her wanting to build the house.
Yeah,
but
she
the
still
rest,
wanted her. She still wanted her happy ending, which she never got.
But then that moment when she's kneeling, I'm getting ahead. But the point is, in the sword base, we can all agree to have mixed feelings about the director, but it seemed weird that she went from all of that, I can't feel you crying stuff, to walking back to her car and not being upset.
Well, I think she's still upset. It's like
no, I'm not saying
it's when you look.
Like
when
she
you
left
lose,
his body. Like she left his body and she didn't.
She couldn't have done anything.
Yeah.
She's like she maybe it sunk in that she knew he was gone, and it's another thing. Like when you lose somebody, it's a part of the grief. She's like, it's
Yeah.
She had to let it go in a way.
And then you see the deed on the seat, and I could see she's determined to go see what he had left for her. I firmly believe that she didn't know what she was walking into, and she got that after she came back. And she was not in on whatever he planned while he was alive. For this is a thing,
I think it's that cheesy power of love, persevering. It may literally just be that. I mean, as dumb as that sounds, that may have literally just been an actual emotion and love coming out of her that just boom, with her powers, obviously.
Because she was distraught.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's when she's part like anyone. I mean, look. Who, like with the Hulk, the more angry he gets, the stronger he gets. I mean, I know, again, we're talking about X-Men, but my favorite X-Men, at least, Wolverine. I mean, you can tell when this guy gets, like, the more angry he gets, it's just like a rage that just brings it right out of him. You know what I mean? It's like when your adrenaline kicks in and your emotions are on fucking high. You do some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And if I had red wibbly woos too, I mean, I don't know. I make a whole fucking town. Don't come after me, Haywood.
I don't know.
Like I said, I still look. It's obvious that he did not show the full video of Wanda showing up to SHIELD headquarters to.
Yes. Exactly.
It's obvious, and we know that he's shady, but he's not shady because he wants to dominate the world or he wants to keep Vision as a weapon for his own personal use.
Don't know that.
But we do. Like I said, who has done more evil over the course of these last?
There's still another episode.
I think he might be working for somebody.
No, I don't think he's working for anybody. No. As a matter of fact, I don't even think who's the one person everybody keeps saying is going to show up in this. Mephisto.
Doctor Strange.
No, Mephisto. I don't think Mephisto's involved in this either. Think about it. There's only one episode left, so you have to solve 3 different problems that still exist out here in the show. You have to solve the conflict between Wanda and Agatha. You have to solve the conflict between Wanda and Sword, and you have to solve the conflict between Sword and Monica. Do you really have time to introduce somebody like Mephisto, give him his story, his character, and on top of that, add a whole other thing that has to happen, a confrontation and you have the confrontation between White Vision and whoever the hell he's going to fight. So you
make a good point when they spend like 5 minutes at the beginning of the episode showing Agatha in Salem. Yeah.
So I think Agatha is obviously the big baddie, but one of the other things that this show is that the Vision that we have been seeing for this whole series is not the real Vision, and it's pretty clear.
See, he was wrong. She is not parading around with his dead body.
She is not parading. Actually, I think it was Aaron that said that. In all fairness, I didn't think that was right either. But yeah. So we're getting some big answers now. There's one, we know that's not Vision. Vision was in pieces at Sword headquarters. We know that the remains of Vision are now. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but. We know that the Vision was created, and I'll actually go ahead and put the thing up. I got to put the other
question though. Why do you think there wasn't a door from Sword Base to her arrival at Westview? Why did they just kind of show her getting in the car and driving there? Why didn't they have Agatha and her standing somewhere and another door open?
I thought that was just like a continuation of like what had happened.
Okay.
After
okay.
This might have been a whole.
It was kind of all part of the same thing.
It led up to the hex. Yeah, I think that's what that was.
All right. Sorry.
I forgot which one we had up.
And we all get to see all the faces of everybody in Westview that were all like, you guys have no idea what's about to happen.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't think Hayward's a bad guy. I think he's a good guy. He's just doing bad things for good reasons.
But then why did he send
You're
away
not
all the
gonna-
smart people who actually knew how to fix things or analyze things when he realized they might not just
Stepping stones.
Like I said,
they might not just kowtow to him.
He's not a bad guy. He's doing dumb things for the right reasons.
So you think he just has a military mindset and he's just
I think he is a little
driven.
single-minded. He is a little single-minded about all this, yes. But I do think
Okay.
at times he has shown empathy to Wanda. Look, as soon as when Wanda first came out of the Hex to face off against them a couple episodes ago, he could open fire on her then. He had the opportunity. He had the ability for sure. There was 20 guys with guns there. The laser pointers all in her chest. All he had to do was say one thing: fire. I don't know. I'm not saying it would have turned out the way he wanted, but he could have and didn't.
Again, military taxation. He probably knew better than to try and do that because that was not going to pan out for them.
And honestly, it's even hard to say that he even knew he needed Wanda to help power whatever he was going to do, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Because he obviously, by that scene that we see at the very end, it was a recent thing that came to him that he needed some of her energy. So he didn't know that back then either. He very easily could have had her wiped out. So there's two.
Because he's like, we didn't know we needed this.
There are two times now that he had her in front of a firing squad and could have pulled the trigger and didn't. He doesn't want her dead.
Can I ask you a question? It's ahead of the thing, but how the hell does that drone still have her red energy, like, lingering on it? Or is it because it's been so close to where the Hex was? And here's the magical TV, like, magic here. Wouldn't that have been in a building that was turned into a circus? How the fuck did that happen to be in the car with him when he's speeding away from the expanding Hex?
Well, for one, it's a plot hole. Look,
okay.
Really, if you want to talk, have you seen Avengers Endgame?
No. But do you think it's possible?
That movie has got 600 plot holes in it, and to be absolutely honest, I don't care. That movie is such a great fan service and such a great ending that you overlook all that. It'll be easier for you to spot if you actually go watch all the movies one by one, so that way when you get to Endgame, you'll notice them. Because if you're not in on the joke, you won't notice a lot of them. But if you've actually watched all the movies up to that point, there's a lot of plot holes in that movie, but it doesn't matter. It's a lot of fan service and it's a lot of awesomeness because it was a great culmination. I'll admit the first half of the movie wasn't as good as the second half, but man, once Hulk snaps everybody back to existence, that movie fucking takes off, and it's probably the best 30 minutes of movies I've ever seen. Ever.
Okay.
Put it this way. When it went into the Hex, right? And then when it came back out, it still had her powers imbued into it. The same thing happened to Monica.
But not the rover, though.
No, but I'm saying she went in and came back out and was still carrying some effect.
Well,
carrying an effect. And she's an organic being. The drone is not.
Yeah, if you think about it, not a lot of stuff has left the Hex.
Right.
You're exactly right.
There's only two things we know of that have left the Hex. One of them was Monica, and the other one is that drone. Everything else that has gone in the Hex has stayed there.
Darcy's the car thing, the car thing, the space rover touched it. It didn't actually go in.
Yeah.
So you're right about that. Getting back to the Westview thing.
And I don't think Monica directly interacted with that car as it was trying to drive into the Hex. What are the two things that Monica has directly come in contact with that have left the Hex? That drone and Wanda rather. She's only directly interacted with two things that have left the Hex: Monica and the drone. That's it.
And the drone was also going in there before, she upgraded the shield of the Hex too. So it might have been a little easier for them to get in. And when she realized what they were doing, she's like, no.
Oh yeah.
Not. And just made it a little harder for everybody to get in and out. Because like I said, Vision was having a hell of a time trying to get out.
Yeah.
And the truck she tried to drive in and just kind of said, nope, spit it back out.
But that's the other thing is the fact that Vision obviously was created. And well, we're going to get to this in a minute. We're getting that scene anyway, so I'll go and put the pictures up. Is when she goes and it becomes very clear that she created Vision. And from this point, we already know it becomes very clear that she creates Vision. That's why he can't leave the Hex. He can't exist outside the Hex. That's why he was having that reaction when he tried to walk out. But let's go ahead and move on to the arrival at Westview. Now, when she leaves the
Can
sword
I ask you a quick question about that real quick?
Go ahead.
Do you think it would have been good if they would have shown something Well, maybe because it's only in Wanda's thing, but it would have been really cool to see, like, when Vision picked this town as the place where he wanted to grow old with her, prior to this, because as she's driving through, it seems like the sitcom-y kind of town that Vision would have known she would have loved. And I just wish we would have seen the backstory of him picking the town.
I don't know.
There's only so many...
thing is, like, it seems more, like I said, this was another gut punch for me. Like, I was kind of like, because I was wondering, like, how did Westview even become a part of this? I'm like, wait, why is she? Because I was like, why is she just here? Why the hell? She opens it up, and I'm like, oh no.
Well,
no.
it could have just
she opened the thing.
Well, it could have.
And it's like, because he picked the town.
It could have just been that he picked Westview. Yeah, I think it's probably more random, just chance. I don't think Westview itself has a stronger significance. I think if it did, we probably would have seen that by now.
Yeah, I think it was more of a significant, like, reveal that, like, when she opened up the deed and he had that plot marked out.
Well, clearly the town's driving distance from the sword base, so maybe that's significant too.
Could be. I don't think the location of Westview...
I thought that was a temporary base that was set outside the hex because they were...
No. Because you see Wanda leave the sword base in the car, same outfit, and then she gets to Westview, still daylight.
Yeah, I mean, like, that main headquarters, yes, it's somewhere nearby.
Well, we also don't know how much time passed between when she left the base and when she gets to Westview. Because, I mean, if we're being perfectly honest, the aerial views that we get at the sword base, I happen to know where those are at. Those are the Space Coast in Florida. I've seen pictures of that place a million times. That's where they launch space shuttles.
It does look like.
Yeah. So, I mean,
didn't she drive on what looked like one of the...
I don't
very similar.
Well, like I said, that's what those roads in that area of Florida look like because of all the... That's the Space Coast. That's where they launch space shuttles and stuff from. But she goes over to Westview. Now, she gets in her car, she leaves the sword base, and she heads to Westview, and we see that the lot that Vision had acquired intending to build their home. So as she drives through town, you guys probably noticed, we see many of the people that have appeared in the series already. We saw Herb, we saw Deborah Jo Rep's character sitting there at the coffee shop. We saw the delivery guy walking around. The guy stapling the piano lessons flyer to the wall is the guy that said, "Hey, that was my grandmother's piano."
So notice nobody was with someone else. They were all alone. But when she created the hex, everybody had somebody. Nobody was ever alone.
True.
That was interesting.
True, but even Pietro says that he greatly improved their lives in this whole thing, giving them both slightly better jobs, slightly better everything, making their lives a little bit more comfortable than they were when she decided to freak out and take over. But we're going to get to the freak out. Now, she arrives at the lot. She's obviously at the peak of her heartbreak, and while standing in the middle of this empty foundation of the home that her and Vision were supposed to build, her emotional state, and this is where it happens, she just absolutely snaps, and we see the beginning of the grand illusion. Up to this point, what are you guys thinking?
I'm crying as she opens up the mouth, by the way.
As soon as I saw the heart, I was like, oh, no.
And then that's where the questions come in. I can totally see her wanting to build the house so that she could, but the second part, turning